Giardia. I'm sitting here with my friend Tiffany.
Hi, Tiffany Proffitt, board-certified emergency medicine physician in Arizona with my amazing charge nurse friend, Holly.
Yes. And we have so much to talk about. I feel like we're just getting started, but there's like a laundry list that keeps adding on. We had previously talked about kind of limitations in what we are allowed to do. And I kind of wanted to just get some clarity, like what the mindset is on or during a violent situation. What is going through your brain from the start? Like what's the steps that you go through to make decisions on how to handle it, to keep the patient safe, the staff safe, just trying to like die down the situation. Just kind of talk to me about that.
So part of the challenge is that, as you know, in healthcare, especially in the emergency department, our step one is flipped compared to everywhere else in the world, even in the outpatient medical offices. Mm-hmm. So if a patient comes in already aggressive and abusive and violent, everywhere else, the first thing is leave. Mm-hmm. Second step is call the police.
Yeah.
Versus in the emergency department, I cannot make them leave because I don't know if they are safe to go. So step one is try to actually keep them there. Which
is insane.
You're like, insane.
You just threatened me. Please stay.
Please stay.
You're like, something is wrong with my brain
yes.
for me to think that way.
It's true, though. It's so wrong. You threatened myself and my entire staff. Mm-hmm. But my first response in the ER has to be, please stay.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you're safe or not. So then you start with the verbal de-escalation, which whenever they have a module or like a little lecture or an email, they talk about better ways to verbally de-escalate conversations and patients and how to kind of decrease the tension in the room.
The milieu.
Yes, the milieu.
Yeah.
Which never works.
No.
I have never once seen it work.
Mm-mm.
Not once.
Maybe once, but we'll get into that. Yeah. It's
okay.
Like the mom voice comes out strong.
Yeah.
And sometimes I can trick them.
Yeah, it's true. Every once in a while it does. Every once in a while. And then from there, you have to slowly add, because you have to justify it every step. Mm-hmm.
And document it. If you didn't document it, didn't happen.
Yes, and document it. Because that is the number one thing you want to do after being punched in the face, is say, okay, well, why are we escalating things? Mm-hmm. Why do I have to every step? Well, patient still verbally aggressive. We have now had a behavioral sitter, which is now some other poor, innocent staff member.
That's unlicensed. Get this. This is like the 18-year-old off the street, like just above a volunteer status, ready to sit there and be like, I'm ready to like figure out healthcare if I want to be in it. And they have to sit for these crazy people.
Yes. And then they themselves become victims of this aggression or these inappropriate comments and are made to feel uncomfortable and unsafe, which is horrible that we're doing this to the whole next generation of healthcare providers that early on in their training. Yep. And then from there, you do things from restraints, whether it's soft, so kind of like little Velcro cuffs, and is it one limb, is it two limbs, is it all four limbs, and why are you using all four limb restraints on the patient? From there, we go up to the violent, hard leather restraints that security has a key for, which also you need, as we've said in other segments, justification, documentation, 15-minute rechecks.
Education for them, what they need to do to get out of it. They make it almost impossible to be able to do that to somebody. And it's so hard because it's like, that is needed. I feel like we hard restrain people and the hard restraints is violent restraints more often than softs.
Oh, yes.
Because when people are breaking out of them, which is crazy, the old little grannies, the freaking 21-year-old little girls are breaking out of these restraints. So you have to kind of err on the side of caution. Am I going to have to do this to them one time? Or if we do it this way and they get out, then I have to now make it a double experience, which that's traumatizing. It's unsafe. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And then you talk about all the chemical restraints, which I was always trained was the last resort. You want to avoid it at all cost. And I understand because the patient can't technically give consent, but if they're being so violent that you need to put them in hard restraints, which we both know, it's not like they just lay there.
No, they're never voluntary for it. They're like, oh yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
No.
Leather me to the bed.
Yeah, sure.
No.
This is cute.
Yeah, this is cute. No. It's you need security in. You usually have 2 or 3 security guards
Yeah.
plus 4 ER staff members physically holding this patient down who somehow has monster strength regardless of
Yeah.
size,
Yeah.
age.
It's like tackling a bear.
Yeah.
And you're holding them down, also trying to prevent them from grabbing your wrist and digging their
Mhm.
nails into you,
Yep.
which has happened, from head banging you, which has happened, from throwing punches, which has happened,
Mhm.
and
Kicking.
spitting on you.
Yep.
Kicking, spitting, thrashing. Like,
Mhm. Mhm.
I feel like I tell Justin these stories and he's just like, "What? You do what at work?" I'm like, "Yeah, we wrestled this guy down." And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Never once did I think as a nurse that this would be like such a frequent occurrence.
Oh yeah.
This
You
is what
thought
you see on TV. That's like Fight Club stuff, not
yes.
a normal day, a Tuesday night in the ER.
Yeah. Yeah. Not just a random weeknight. Ever. Ever. I mean, and then it's the amount of colleagues that I've had who have been, like you said, like punched in the face. I've had ones who've been hit with the phones that are in the room, hit with their own phones.
Yeah. Thrown things. I've had
Mm-hmm.
the food tray. Like
Mm-hmm.
they took the tray off and they literally chucked it at the door.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm like, thank God I dodged out of the way because I'm pretty sure I was pregnant at the time too. I'm like, I'm just trying to help you. You don't have to throw things.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And so then if we do chemically restrain them, then it's the balance of, is this so much they're going to be asleep for 2 days?
Mm-hmm.
Is this so much that I'm going to need to intubate them?
Are they going to stop breathing?
Or are they going to stop breathing? And so we start off with these small little doses because we don't know what they took. We don't know how it's
Yeah.
going to interact with them. And then everyone's like, why don't you just put them down? I said, because if I do, all these other things might happen,
Mm-hmm.
which are a lot worse. And then it's just an even bigger
Yeah.
burden on the healthcare system
Absolutely.
and our hospital that is busting at the seams.
Yeah.
And so throughout that whole process, everyone is getting more and more abused and exposed, and you're drawing resources away from the
Mhm.
sick patients in the ER, away from those patients in the waiting room.
And every time you go into that room, you're at risk of getting hurt
Mm-hmm.
because oftentimes it's not just the first dose that you give because you have to be cautious because
Mhm.
you care about their overall well being.
Yeah.
And then the nurses have to come in with 2 other things. And every time you have to medicate a patient, most of the time you're having to give IM meds into the muscle because they don't have an IV because, again, they're not voluntary and coherent enough to be like, oh, here's my arm. This is the vein they normally get. Like, you can't have a conversation with these people. They're swinging at you. So you're trying to either get an IV access on a patient that's totally thrashing, which our staff is amazing and we can do
Yes.
sometimes.
Yes, they can. I'm
But
always amazed.
most of the time, you're having probably 9 people in there. Someone's holding the head, someone's got the shoulder, someone's got the wrist, someone's got the hips. 3 people are laying over the legs because for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And you're trying to like squeeze in between now, putting every other member in the room at risk of a needle stick because you have an open needle trying to find access to a muscle so they can finally just stop trying to hurt you.
Mhm.
And it's an experience.
It is
And
an
it's
experience.
tiring. Like,
It's tiring.
holding down a person that's fighting you when I was never a fighter. I always joke, I'm like, I fight with my words, not my body. It is exhausting. And as a charge nurse, I'm sitting there like praying no one gets hurt,
Mhm.
including the patient. But I care about my staff. I joke
Yeah.
with my staff. I'm like, I'm here for you guys. You guys are here for the patients, but I will not let the patients treat you guys that way.
Yeah.
And so I'm the first to be like, okay, get the doctor. What are we doing? You
Mhm.
cannot act like this. I'm right there at the bedside, like handling it with them because one,
Mhm.
I would want that support if I was a nurse and I relied on my
Yeah.
charge nurse. And I think that that's so important in helping that experience. And especially for when we have to answer to this, because you have to answer to everything that you do. I can be like, let me have the conversation on your behalf. I was right there. And it makes it to where they don't have to relive it again.
Mhm. And that's an excellent point because there have been studies, especially within the last few years, that have shown that anytime anyone in healthcare suffers a violent event attack, and they focused a lot on the ER, of course, because that's where most of it
You're
happens.
surprised.
Yes, I know. Most of it happens. And the mental and emotional toll that that one violent event takes not only affects that person's performance on their shift for the rest of the shift,
Mhm.
but potentially up to a week later.
Mhm.
And as the violence gets worse, it can affect you longer.
Yeah.
But how often on shift are you ever allowed to take a minute and step out because this patient was very violent towards you and it just really, really upset you?
And you can't not let it affect you.
Yeah.
You can't like sit there and be like, oh, yeah, it's totally fine because it's not. And I've got nurses that they try to be brave and strong. And I'm like, you don't have to. I try to let people have a moment, but
Mhm.
sometimes it is absolutely crazy in the department
Yeah.
that I can't safely let people have that break because there's too many other sick patients that need things.
Mhm.
And it's unfortunate because some of the stories and stuff that I'm getting, it's either I did press charges and no one did anything, or no one even followed up with me, even though I told my supervisor. And so I take that as I know I do my best to follow up on it when I am there. But it's also from running a whole department standpoint, we are so short staffed, probably because these things happen normally
Mhm.
that people get too mentally tired and they have to call out, which you absolutely have the right to do.
Mhm.
But when we can't get back staff or we're counting on too many people to pick up extra shifts just to staff the baseline for the department, losing that nurse is losing 4 patients that I can actively take care of on that team. And
Mhm.
that's a light ratio. Most other
Yeah.
ERs are 5 to 6 patients per nurse.
Oh
And
yeah.
we try to stay on like the lighter end of things just because it's
Mhm.
safer for everybody involved. But you can't remove that nurse without affecting, like, it's a butterfly effect. It will then
Mhm.
trickle into I have to close down these rooms, or I have to bring all my nurses to one side and move 7 patients over, which then bumps other patients that are waiting in the lobby, or and everyone is just spread too thin. In a perfect world, in the NCLEX world, as we used to joke around in school, is like everything goes your way. You've got an abundance of staff. No one tries to do anything wrong. Only one patient is getting sick at a time. That looks good on paper, and I feel like our policies and our standards are in an NCLEX world. That you're
Mhm.
like, yeah, you'll press charges, you'll make a report. One, your patient would probably never do this in the first place, but that's not reality. The
Yeah.
NCLEX world and reality world are completely different things. And the lack of resources from a leader standpoint, I was going through a bunch of the Arizona laws, and it's like you have to have someone that takes the report, you have to track all of this, it needs to be evaluated on an annual basis. And I'm sitting there like, okay, well, I know how to call the police
Mhm.
to get someone to come take a report. Whether they show up or not is a different story. Whether the charges that are pressed go anywhere, that's another story. But on the back end, there was not any education for me on what happens after the end of the shift. And unfortunately, I've asked questions. I've tried to look through our policies and research it, and I can't even still to this day get a name of who I can contact to follow up on these. We have staff members that have gotten hurt and get subpoenas to show up in court, and there's no guidance from the healthcare system. There's not someone standing there with them when they show up on the stand to be like, they're going to try to swing things that are going to make you uncomfortable from a defense side because that's
Mhm.
their job. But they are unprepared. We are not represented. We're
Mhm.
basically not supported to take it that far because we're just
No.
told to kind of, it's part of the job.
Yeah. It's part of the job, even though ironically, and we've had incidences I know from colleagues all over the country where we can go to the extreme, like we were seeing more active shooters in the emergency
Mhm.
department, which I don't care what anybody says. No person who goes into healthcare, who trains to take care of patients, thinks their job is to potentially be shot.
No,
Not a single one of us.
no. It's absolutely insane, and I'm not saying this to not stand up for
Hmm.
our peers in like EMS in the police
Yeah,
department, but
no.
if someone does that around a police officer, the person is either neutralized or taken down and brought into the emergency department, and they
Hmm.
are taken to jail once they're medically cleared if there was an injury.
Yeah.
If that happens in an ER, we're told go on with the rest of your shift.
Hmm.
And the patient then gets away with it, and we're told that, oh well, they were mentally ill. Why do I have to risk my life? At this point, if something doesn't change, I will discourage my friends and family and my children from getting into healthcare in general because it is becoming more unsafe than just walking around the street at night.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
And
we have to take care of these people when they come in.
yeah, we have no choice. We can't turn them away. We can't call the police on them.
No.
And this is a national issue.
Yeah.
This is not just one region. This is a national issue where something as basic as a metal detector. They have them in schools,
Hmm. Some schools.
some schools, but staff after incident that happens ask, can we have something just that basic
Hmm.
so that we can at least limit the violence to something not as,
Try to prevent it. Show me
yeah,
that you're
try to
doing
prevent it.
something to try to
Yeah.
keep me safe.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, our facilities have gotten them.
Yes, we're very appreciative of that.
Yes. And I'm not down talking it by any
Mm-hmm.
means. That's an effort. And that's all we're
Yes.
asking for.
Yeah.
But I want communication on the efforts. I
Mm-hmm.
want something to happen sooner than later because these incidents, I mean, especially lately, maybe it's just that I'm looking at it on my phone and it, becomes in your algorithm and I see
Yeah.
something literally twice a day. I mean, a shooting in Michigan this morning, an event last week, one of our sister facilities 2.5 weeks ago. And I just want the communication on what someone's going to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because at this point, silence is no answer in the impression that it leaves for these healthcare people that have to show up to work and be like, I don't know if I'm going to get shot at today. And unfortunately, I've had 2 gun situations. I mean, I've been a nurse for 11 years this year, and I've been at my current facility going on 6 years this year. And I've had 2 gun incidents. One active shooting where I was a fresh new charge nurse. I was hired in. I was probably, I think it was 3 months into coming off orientation, which in its own is difficult coming into an ER and figuring that out. And then having an incident like this happen. And your brain is going in 100 different directions. You're like, I need to keep my staff safe. What's actually going on? Are the police here? Is security okay? Where is this happening? Okay. And I run out to the lobby and this is happening right outside the ER lobby. And I'm like, get the patients away from the window. We can't get more injuries.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the fact, they're like, okay, get all the staff home. And I'm like, no, we need to have a debriefing about this. Like, we need to talk about what happened, make sure the staff is okay, give them resources because I know they're not okay.
Yeah.
And the follow up on it. Okay, well, they were given resources. The
Yeah.
the admin, the freaking high up people, they show up the next morning. Where were you when this happened? Why
Mm-hmm.
didn't you come in then? Show support and show that you're not scared to come into your own facility.
Mm-hmm.
My one question I said to a friend the other day, I was like, if these incidents happened at the administrative office or the corporate office, would it have a different reaction than if it happened at a hospital? And I guarantee you it would. And I think without a blink of the eye, everyone would answer that way. They would have probably police presence every single day, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we deserve that?
Yeah.
I'm thankful for the metal detectors. I'm thankful for the wands, but we're still the ones that have to get close enough to the patients to do that with these patients that are already entitled enough that they think they're allowed to. And it doesn't answer the question on half the weapons that get brought in are through the ambulance bay.
Yeah.
And there's no sensors.
Mm-hmm. And that's just it. And we recognize that it's a more challenging issue than just one simple thing, but it's
And
true
expensive.
and
I get that.
expensive. I get that. But how much more expensive is it if you lose your staff completely?
Yeah. From either getting hurt or getting too burnt out that
Mm-hmm.
people are leaving the profession.
I mean, there's a reason why we're short staffed.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why people are leaving healthcare and going to whatever, someday we will have our own like IV bar, ketamine clinic, like
Yes.
med spa,
Yes.
drive around in custom Lamborghinis and not come back to the ER.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, I still love what we do.
Mm-hmm. And I say that till I'm blue in the face.
Yes.
Justin hears it. He's like, why do you even go to work? You don't need to do that. Like, go work somewhere else. And I'm like, but I love my job because I love my people.
Yeah.
And I love my role in my emergency room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like how the community treats us.
Yeah.
And I don't like feeling unsafe and that my voice can't do anything about it,
Mm-hmm.
which again is why this whole concept of talking about it came about.
Yeah.
I know there's a solution. I don't think it's one solution. I think it's a trend of things that need to happen, not only in my emergency room, but across the entire world, because
Mm-hmm.
this is happening globally. People are becoming out of control. And I think that things need to happen. And I know that I've teamed up and spoken to a lot of people in our healthcare, outside of our healthcare, in the police department, a lot more conversations to come. But I think there's momentum
Mm-hmm.
in that we can make a positive change and keep our people safe.
Absolutely. And like you said, until we start talking about it openly and honestly, nobody knows how bad the problem is.
Mm-mm.
That's why we're here.
Yeah, absolutely. Have you watched The Pit?
I have. I like it because it's very true.
Yes.
Minus the fact that he never has to put in one order.
Yeah.
I've not seen one order or one bit of
And
documentation
there's
ever.
so many doctors. I'm sorry.
There's so
Wait,
many
I want to work
doctors.
there.
There's so many people. I'm
Yes.
like, where are you? And also, yeah, They
Yeah. It's a nice depiction, and I feel
Yes.
like medically it's accurate. I think the blood has made Justin kind of gag like quite a few times, and that makes me like giggle because he's like, that does not happen. He's like looking away, gagging. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, that's like real.
That's
That's
real.
actually pretty
That's
accurate.
real.
I'm
Yeah.
impressed. Don't know how they do that, but it's
Yeah.
amazing. But their most recent episodes on like healthcare violence, I'm just in awe because I think the day that I launched the podcast concept, we sat down and watched this episode and I'm like, look, people are finally talking about it. Like it's getting
Yes.
produced. Like we have to be able to use this momentum to do something. Cause I think honestly, things just haven't changed because we were scared to talk about it. It's been taboo. It's something that you're not supposed to talk about. And then also don't complain about your job, which I think is more of like an older generation thing.
Yeah.
Like, don't complain. You're going to like ruffle feathers
Mhm.
and get
Yeah.
fired. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
okay because I want
Yeah.
to, again, team up with people.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming anybody, but I want to
No.
help be a part of the solution.
Exactly. And it's like we've been saying all along. It's not just a one place, one part of the country issue. It is a national, it is a
Mhm.
global issue. And we
Yeah.
all need to come together to find a solution so that we can
Yeah.
keep ourselves safe, so we can keep caring for patients the best way that we know how, which is what we want to do and what we
Yeah.
love to do.
It's why we got into the profession in the first place.
Mhm.
So thank you for talking to me about this. And thank you
Yes.
guys for listening. There will be a bunch more stuff coming. We've got people reforming legislation. I've got police officers coming. I've got fire personnel coming. I've got nurses. I've got actual people from recent shootings coming. So please stay tuned. Watch us on social media. Like, follow, subscribe, whatever that means. And we'll keep producing content like this and hopefully drive a good change for all of healthcare.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you
Okay.
for coming.
Thank you, Ollie, for having me.